Hey, what's going on, roleplayers? It's the Bard here and welcome back to the corner. So I've been getting some great feedback in emails and my video comment section, and it seems people are still loving the Unconventional series. So I know I haven't uploaded in a bit, as we all have our own crusades in life, but right now I'm on a quest to bring you guys some Unconventional Paladin. So the Hospitaller was a prestige class that appeared back in 3.5, but I figured it could use a little bit of a revamp. So this description comes directly from 3.5's Complete Divine Supplement. Hospitallers are a fighting force of necessity, sworn to poverty, obedience, and the defense of those in their care. It is the duty of Knights Hospitaller to protect people traveling on religious pilgrimages. Over the years, this single duty has expanded to include the construction and administration of hospitals and refugee facilities. But I didn't want this to be a direct copy, so I looked a bit into the history of the Knights Hospitaller, whose original purpose of the order was to provide aid and medical care to Christian pilgrims to the Holy Land, but it soon became a military order, which acquired extensive territories in Europe, and whose knights made significant contributions to the Crusades. So I would like this character to be a bit of a blend of both of those ideas. A character who can provide aid and healing to those in need, but also has the strength to conquer nations and overthrow leaders. So this character should function quite well with 5 levels of Conquest Paladin and 5 levels of Life Cleric. So 5 levels of Paladin gets us the extra attack. It also gets us access to spells like Fine Steed, as well as being able to give us our Channel Divinity, which is Conquering Presence. When it comes to our Cleric levels, we're getting access to both Disciple of Life and the Channel Divinity Preserve Life, both of which are giving us much more impressive healing abilities. Additionally, having those higher level slots means we can cast spells like Revivify or Mass Healing Word, but also having those higher level slots means that we can make better use of our Divine Smite, allowing for much more potent attacks when it comes to doing battle. The 3.5 version of this was also a mounted character, and I wanted to preserve some of that, so if you're looking for a feat, Mounted Combatant is probably the one you're going to be taking. Furthermore, when it comes to the fighting style for this character, I really think that dueling is the way to go. The bonus damage is going to be useful regardless of whether you're on your mount or not, but if you wanted to go with something like a lance, for example, it's the kind of weapon that you would use in one hand while mounted, so you would still be able to apply your dueling bonus to that as well. Over time you're going to get access to a few more ability score improvements, which you can trade in for feats if you like. If you're looking to improve your martial abilities, then Martial Adept can be a good choice. If you need extra healing, or if you're playing more of a low fantasy campaign, where things like bandages and stuff are important, then Healer is actually a good choice. And if you want to concentrate more on that conquering aspect of your character, then maybe Inspiring Leader can be something that you might look into. I'm quite pleased with this build because I really think it has something for everyone. So this was quite obviously a theme-based character. It's built quite loosely in the sense that it allows you to be a little bit more picky and choosy about the things that you want to incorporate in it. So there's also nostalgia here for anyone who's familiar with 3.5. Additionally, the character has a good potential to be a high fantasy character for lots of divine magic, or a low fantasy character if you're looking for something a bit more realistic and historical. And lastly, it was nice to include a mounted character for a change. I don't think I've really done very many of them in the Unconventional series, barring perhaps the pint-sized paratrooper. The nice thing about it, however, is it doesn't require the character to be mounted, so if you don't really like that style of play, you can always choose not to take mounted combat and instead take the ability score or a different feat instead. Most paladins devote themselves to the eradication of evil, but the Stalwart Inquisitor is a determined hunter, a driven investigator, and a dedicated mage slayer. So the Stalwart Inquisitor uses 5 levels of Vengeance Paladin and 6 levels of Whisper Bard. You could potentially go with something like Arcane Cleric or Abjurer Wizard, any class really that's capable of casting Dispel Magic. The thing is, however, I want this character to have a specialised role, but I don't want it to have just one gimmick. I want it to be an information gatherer, an investigator, an infiltrator, a deceiver. The Bard class offers up all these great skill options, as well as having access to things like Dispel Magic, Counterspell, Counter Charm. Words of Terror is great for getting information out of a target, and if you need to do a little infiltration, Mantle of Whispers has you covered. Mage Slayer is going to be your primary feat, but with so many character classes and creatures able to do spellcasting, it really doesn't feel wasted. Creatures adjacent to a character with the Mage Slayer feat provoke opportunity attacks whenever they cast a spell. An opportunity attack with both Divine Smite and Psychic Blades added to it can deal incredible damage and easily put down a caster in a single blow. Abilities like your Channel Divinity Abjure Enemy can stop your prey from escaping you, but even if they do manage to elude you, spells like Hunter's Mark can be really helpful in being able to track your target. And finally, if you're looking for a fighting style to adopt, the protections and defenses don't really offer you much against spellcasters, so dueling or great weapon fighting is definitely the way to go, as it helps you put these characters down a lot faster than you normally would be able to. As it happens, a while back I was asked to make a mage slaying character, so hopefully this will also fit the bill for that request as well. Mechanically, this build does what it's supposed to do, but you always want a little something extra, especially when it comes to role-playing, because that's the key thing, how you play the character. As it is, your Inquisitor might not be as interested in slaying wizards or purging magic. Perhaps your Inquisitor's focus is to condemn the heathens and the heretics. Or perhaps upholding the law is your priority. You want to uncover the truth of all things and bring the guilty to justice. However you see your Inquisitor developing, it only takes a few tweaks to the skills and the feats in order to get the exact kind of Divine Hunter that you're looking for. The Occult Stalker's goal is to dispatch anything supernatural, so your Occult Stalker could be a witch hunter, a demon slayer, a vampire killer. Your character can be a general purpose slayer if you like, but there's a lot more interest and a lot more character development when it comes to being a specific kind of hunter. So our Occult Slayer is a Devotion Paladin level 7, and a class that I don't use very often, Artillerist Artificer level 5. So if there's one thing I've really noticed about paladins is that they have absolutely no ranged support. A paladin is expected to deal with the worst kind of demons and undead, yet it's expected to get right up in their face and go toe to toe with them in melee combat. A few levels of Artificer though, and you can start to soften up these creatures at range until they get to within melee striking distance. So why go so many levels of paladin? Well, I want the Aura of Devotion. If you're planning on being a vampire hunter, understand these things have an enormous challenge rating, they are absolutely hard as nails, and they will be able to charm you. At least with Aura of Devotion, you are not going to have to worry about their charm effects, and 7 levels of Paladin combined with your 5 levels of Artificer, you're going to at least have enough proficiency in order to be able to stand up against them. It wouldn't be much use to try to sell yourself as a werewolf hunter if you didn't have the capacity to hurt them. Lycanthropes enjoy damage immunity from bludgeoning, piercing and slashing from non-magical attacks not made with silvered weapons. The Arcane Firearm and Eldritch Cannon help to get around this by using a variety of spells and spell-like effects in order to deal elemental types of damage. These abilities can help partially obviate the need for a magical silvered weapon. So Lycanthropes have their immunities if it's not magical and silvered. There are some golems that have immunity to damage if it's not adamantine and magical. And certain creatures like Rakshasa, for example, have a vulnerability to piercing weapons that are magical as long as it's wielded by a good aligned creature. The point here is that some of these materials can be very hard to come across, especially in a manufactured weapon form. They could be even rarer to find such a weapon that would be enchanted as well. But if you are fortunate enough to come across a regular weapon that has been made from a specific material, or you have enough money in order to commission one, at least you'll be able to enchant it to the point where you can deal damage to these particular kinds of creatures. With the ability then to cut through the creature's defenses, none of your damage is going to be resisted, meaning you can make full use of some of your other abilities like your Divine Smite. And of course, if you need more ranged fire support, then you can use your Arcane Infusion for a repeating shot, which can potentially give you everlasting crossbow bolts, or returning weapon so that you always have a ranged throwing weapon on hand. You don't really need any specific skills or feats to make this work, but it's a good idea to pick the ones that complement your playstyle. If you use your Arcane Firearm a lot, for example, you might want to consider Spell Sniper. Perhaps you want to go with a more ranged attack kind of character, so perhaps Sharpshooter can be of some value to you. You may want more resistance to things like curses, such as Lycanthropy, so Resilience is potentially a good choice, or you may wish to skulk in the shadows, stalking your prey, so consider Skulker as the feat that you take. I'm very fond of this character build because I like that idea of a paladin who isn't necessarily wandering around in clanky armor. I like that witch hunter style of character with the wide brimmed hat and the long leather coat. Additionally, there's some really interesting play styles that you can get from this particular kind of class. So because your Eldritch Cannon can fit in your hand if you create a tiny version of it, you could go in with sword and flamethrower. If you wanted to, you could go guns blazing with arcane firearm and force ballista. You could do a melee and range style, so you could go arcane firearm and keep your weapon ready for divine smites if anything provokes an attack of opportunity. You could even go with a long range bombardment style if you went with heavy repeating shot crossbow and an Eldritch Cannon on legs. And the best part is all of these are available within the core classes themselves, which means you can use your skills and your feats to enhance the role-playing aspect of your character because all of the combat is covered. Okay guys, thanks so much for watching Unconventional Paladin. I really hope you enjoyed it. Apologies for not uploading sooner, however it has been very difficult for me as of late, but at least we finally got this one done and uploaded for your enjoyment. Also, how's the sound coming out? Is everything nice and balanced between the audio and the transitions? I've got this new monitor set up and everything seems a little different to me. I really hope the sound's coming out okay because I really am very critical of myself when I make these videos. But enough of that, thanks again for watching Unconventional Paladin. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that, and if you did, please leave a like. If you've got something to tell me about your own types of Unconventional Paladin, then why not tell me in the comment section down below. If you're new to the channel, why not consider subscribing, and there's a notification bell so that you can be informed of everything that pops up from the channel. And with all that being said, I will see you guys next time at the gaming table.